My name is Jamie Dougherty, and I'm a health and lifestyle expert based in the Bay Area. And I work with men and women interested in eating more healthfully and learning how to live their most vibrant, balanced, and energized lives possible. What is wellness? Wellness ultimately, I think, is about feeling good in and about your body. Feeling good with the foods that you put in, feeling light, feeling strong, feeling vivacious. I think that's all wellness. Also, I think wellness is about feeling good in terms of other aspects of your life. Your career, your job, your relationships, your physical activity, your spirituality, that's all wellness, right? It's this huge piece. And each little component creates the entire circle of wellness. You want to make sure you have each piece to make sure you're feeling really great. Basically, a wellness coach is someone that helps people enrich their lives. So it's not only about food, though food is a big piece, but it's also about the way you engage in the relationships in your life, how you enjoy your career, your exercise, your spirituality. All of those pieces create wellness, a sense of well-being in your body and in your world. And that's what I do, help people to attain that. So I don't just take one approach, but I look at many different ways. So it's a more holistic approach, right? All-encompassing versus just one way of thinking about something. I had a client that was suffering from a lot of sinus infections. So instead of just doing antibiotics, which were kind of helping but not really, we went off of dairy, we went off of soy, and that actually really cleared up her sinuses naturally in a holistic way without only going kind of the Western route of using medication. So that's just one instance of a holistic way helping. I became a holistic health coach because I had had a number of health problems myself. And I had gone to the regular doctors and they weren't able to help me. And it was kind of this diagnosis that was going to haunt me for the rest of my life. And I decided to really change the way that I ate and change the way I thought about my health and my wellness to kind of create lasting health in my own life. So once I did that, I decided that I wanted to help others. So I went back to school for holistic nutrition and got a certificate as a holistic health coach, and that's where I am today. Bioindividuality has to do with just that, your individual biology. And so what it basically means is that some things work for others that don't work for you maybe. So dairy might be perfectly fine for you, but it's not okay for me. Meat might work with one person, but doesn't work with another. Some people can handle raw foods, other people cannot. That is bioindividuality. We get into this idea that it's a one-size-fits-all in terms of eating. You know, you should only be on this diet or only be on that diet. But the problem is that it works for some and it doesn't work for others. So when you think about eating well, don't just think, what is somebody telling me to do, but really checking in with yourself and acknowledging your bioindividuality in terms of what foods work for you and what foods don't. Cooking is the ultimate form of self-care. It's the ultimate form of wellness where you are taking the first step and really making sure that you're getting what you need. So cooking is very important. Many of us don't have a lot of time, but even just the bare basics of making a side dish or a main course and then you can kind of outsource the rest is still important. So again, cooking is one of the most important things when it comes to wellness and health. I have a client whose husband comes home and asks what's for dinner, and she'll tell him and he'll say, "Can we have a dinner that's fun?" And she's like, "What's fun? I don't even know what you're talking about." Yes, of course, healthy eating, healthy living, healthy cooking can be fun. I think it's the ultimate fun when you create a meal that's not only good for your body, but tastes great in your mouth. And I don't eat anything that I do not think is delicious or fun. That's a waste of a meal, and I value my food a little too much. I definitely would say that my approach to cooking is one of relative ease and quickness. I don't want to spend my entire day in the kitchen, and I know most people don't either. So what I try and focus on is making sure that all the produce and my fruits and vegetables and my animal products are well raised, organic, locally sourced. And when you use high quality ingredients, you don't need to do much to them. They don't take that much time to actually cook because you want to continue to have that really good flavor. So in terms of, my kind of favorite way of cooking is actually minimal cooking, just adding a few really great spices and seeing what happens. Dino kale, one of my favorite types of kale, primarily because it doesn't break down that well, so it kind of stays a little toothsome and chewy, which is one of my favorite things. And then also it can be good either raw or cooked. So you can throw it into a soup or stew, or you can throw it into a salad and eat it raw. It's really versatile and I love it. In terms of foods that you will always find in my fridge, kale is definitely one, whether it's dino kale, red Russian kale, green kale. I am a kale freak, absolutely. And then also cabbage. Red cabbage I like to put into slaws, and green cabbage. I just threw green cabbage into a chicken soup the other night. It was fantastic. Salt. And I say salt because salt has definitely been vilified in the past, but we know that you can actually have good, high quality salt in your diet. You need it for proper electrolyte function. You want to go for sea salt because it has trace minerals and nutrients in it that your body needs, and you don't need very much. You just need a little pinch. I also love to use cumin and coriander because they work so well in Asian dishes, Latin American dishes. My favorite herbs, I would say, are mint and cilantro and parsley, because again, they're easily thrown into most things. I also like tarragon and marjoram. Marjoram though, you just need a little bit. It's particularly good with poultry. I wouldn't put it on fish though, it's a little too strong. I love mushrooms, particularly if you're a vegetarian. Mushrooms are really great because they have a very meaty, hearty flavor. They give you that sense that you're really eating something that has some staying power. Mushrooms are particularly good because they also have umami. Umami is this fifth flavor, really kind of savory and delicious, and so it adds a lot of satiety to your meals and to your dishes. Mushrooms are really great also for immune protection. Especially in the winter time, if you're dealing with colds or flus, mushrooms can help be an immune booster, which is fantastic. I only like Italian flat leaf parsley because when I was little, my mom would only buy the curly parsley. I would have to eat it raw, and it was just awful. It's really good and healthy for you, but it's just not my cup of tea. Curly parsley has had a bad rap, but kind of deservedly. I mean, it's gross. And the best is like when you're at like Denny's or something, and they put the plate in front of you, and there's like the orange slice and like the curly parsley, and you're like, oh, I don't want it. Parsley is good, just Italian flat leaf. A balanced meal, if we're looking at it kind of in a Western model, right? You want to have your carbs and your fat and your protein and making sure it's well balanced, right? So what does that actually mean? What that means is you want your vegetables. Vegetables should always be the foundation, and all different types. You want to get good quality protein source, so that whether that's from beans or from animal protein, that's perfectly fine. And then getting a good quality carbohydrate, whether that's a sweet potato or a yam or butternut squash, depending on the season, or whole grains. So quinoa, brown rice, oats, millet, amaranth, they're all different kinds of things that you can have. But that's really how you want to be thinking about a good, well-rounded meal. Also, when you think about your meal, putting it in terms of quarters. If you had a circle and you divided it into quarters, you would want half your plate to be vegetables, and then the other quarter would be protein, and then the other quarter would be carbohydrates. So thinking about it that way too is a good way of creating a well-balanced meal. And from there you just mix and match. You take your favorite vegetables and your favorite protein, your favorite carbs, and you go from there. Healthy fats. This is a tough topic because we were told for so many years that fat equals fat in the body. So eating fat makes you fat, and that's really not the case. We now know that there are really good high quality fats. One are the omega-3 fatty acids. These are things that you find in fish. They're called essential fatty acids because you cannot make them on your own. You have to get them from your food. There's also monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats, which are good to get. Those you can find in avocados and olive oil, nuts and seeds, also in your whole grain. There are saturated fats that are okay as well. Saturated fats are not as bad as we used to think they are, even though there are some that are worse than others. A good high quality saturated fat would be extra virgin coconut oil. You just want to make sure that it is unrefined, because it's the refining process that turns it into a trans fat, which is bad. And now I eat so much more fat than I ever thought I ever would. Like when I first started eating fat, I was like, this was like an experiment for my body, because I was so scared that I was just going to get heavy, thank you Grandma, that I was gonna put on weight, and I didn't. It was, if anything, my skin got better and my nails got stronger and my hair got thicker, and it was actually pretty cool. But anyway, going back to saturated fat. If you are going to be eating saturated fat, you want to make sure that it is the good kind of saturated fat. You don't want any low quality hormone-laden, antibiotic-laden animal fats. There are good animal fats, but they have to come from good animals. Animals have saturated fat, and having a bit of saturated fat from animals is perfectly fine. You just want to make sure that the animals have been well raised, preferably pasture-raised, no antibiotics, no hormones, no growth steroids, anything like that. You want to make sure that your animals are organic and well raised. The meat at Whole Foods is great because they have so many different options. They have the organic, they have grass-fed, they also have naturally raised meat, which is a little bit different. So there are all different types that you can get, and their labeling is really nice. So you don't have to ask that many questions because it's all answered right there for you. Meat goes back to bio-individuality. There are some people that really feel that they don't need meat. They feel wonderful without it. There are other people that cannot go a day without eating some form of meat. I actually think that both is okay. I think you just need to make sure, again, that you're getting the really good, high quality amounts of meat. The one thing to keep in mind when you are eating meat, you can have meat every day, that's perfectly fine, but you don't want to eat it in like the American meat kind of way, right? Where there's just a huge slab of meat and then your curly parsley and then nothing else. You want to have meat as your accent, right? If you're having a soup, have a little bit of meat in the soup with a bunch of different vegetables, or a stir fry, right? Tons of vegetables, a little bit of meat. But the idea of just serving a big chunk of meat on your plate, it's not the way that we're going, right? Meat should definitely be an accent. Dairy is the same way. Again, dairy can be loaded with antibiotics and hormones, so you don't want to be getting that into your diet. If you are buying dairy, you want to make sure that it is coming from high quality milk, preferably organic milk. And again, do not use a cup of shredded cheese on whatever. It's just an accent. It's just about a flavor. And when you're getting really high quality, full fat dairy, do not buy low fat dairy. Low fat dairy has fillers and preservatives to make it kind of thick. You want the fat in there so it has natural thickness without any sort of binders or fillers. When you use really high quality dairy, you don't need a lot. It's just like an addition. For anyone who wants to start eating better, feeling better, looking better, there's one thing that I always say to start with, and that is to get rid of eating anything that comes from a box. Just by doing that, you will radically change the way you eat. Because by getting rid of anything in a box, you automatically have to go to fresh foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh dairy, fresh meat, fresh grains, all of those things that are not pre-processed and coming from a box. So just doing that and you will see intense difference. This is quinoa. Quinoa is actually a seed from South America that is loaded with protein and really wonderful because it cooks up in 15 minutes. Now, I know I said if you take everything out of your life that comes from a package, you will be healthy and fine. I should have said anything processed, right? This is in a package, but it is not processed. When you're thinking about, dieting, health, wellness, how do you know what to go for? You really need to check in with yourself and make sure that it makes sense. If you are excited by the idea of a raw diet, try it, see if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, let it go. I think what happens is that people get stuck on this one diet, and even if it doesn't work, they still keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, hoping that it will work. Check in with yourself. Make sure that it makes sense. As humans, we've been eating meat and dairy for a while. They've sustained a lot of people. And then there are other cultures where they don't really eat a lot of meat and dairy. So you just need to kind of see what works for you. And do not get sucked into marketing. That's really important, is ask yourself. Do not ask anyone else. Figure out what's going on with you. There will always be a new diet on the market. That's what it's all about. That's how people sell diet books, because everyone wants to know how to stay fit and healthy and thin and all of the above, right? The problem is that none of them are lasting. Diets don't work. Diets are something that you go on and then you fall off. A lifestyle, the way you eat every single day, is lasting, completely lasting. So when it comes to what diet should I go on, I always say none. Sticking to pure, whole, true foods that are well sourced, that's your diet.